Hey,
Hey everybody,
Hey.
Larry, Fort Worth Memories Museum and Group and Hometown Heroes. It's Tuesday, 10 a.m. Little after, we're running a little bit behind. And so Rick and Mary, y'all got a special guest here
We do.
for the
Mary,
show.
good morning.
Good morning. Good
We've got a
morning, Larry.
special, we've
How's
got a
everybody?
special guest today. This is Kerre Randel
Ortegel.
and she is the founder and president of Holidays and Heroes, which most of us are pretty well acquainted with because Dusty and Tyler and I have been at several of the gift givings and gift gatherings. So but we're glad to have you here today. Mary, we had a good week last week.
We did. It was really awesome.
We
Yeah.
spent a couple of days over to the city to the east and Grapevine with Light Up to Live organization.
Yeah.
We took Don and we had a play shoot, a dinner, and a golf tournament in 2 days. So
Yeah, it was really awesome. I'll tell you, it's an incredible organization that I really didn't know very much about. And to see what they were doing for veterans and first responders, because they handle both, is really pretty amazing. And the founder of the organization, Randall Reed, he was incredibly generous. Don spoke 3 different times. He sang. And that was just really awesome for him because, that really is something that he really, really enjoys. But in addition, he gave me a couple opportunities to share about roll call. And since then, we've had some other folks reach out to us to, get some more information and learn a little more about what we do. So it was really incredible. And I think that, and I brought you up, Larry. And
You did?
in fact, I did, because we were talking about all these organizations. And I said, well, that's exactly what we're trying to do with Hometown Heroes and Larry O'Neill, is to bring together all these great organizations, because
Yes.
we have so many that do so many things, right?
Exactly.
And we don't all need to reinvent the wheel. We don't at Roll Call need to do all of the things that all these other folks do. We just need to know who they are and what they do and how to connect to the folks that we come in contact with what they do. And I thought, and he made that point too. It really is about, we think that we can do some things for Roll Call, and we think Roll Call can do some things for us. So we think that we've established a really great partnership with that group. So it was just such an incredible couple of days out there.
Communication is the biggest problem in every society in the world.
Mhm.
I mean, if we all knew all of these groups, it'd be fantastic.
It would. There's so much help out there. We met a couple of, and I know Rick has met them before, but it was my first time meeting a couple of wounded warriors.
Oh, yeah.
And boy, these guys have amazing stories. We're working on getting them on the show. One of them we'll have on the show on the 8th of November, and the other one we're still working on. But
Super.
some incredible connections.
and that connection and networking is what it's all about.
Mhm.
And we're going to hear a lot of that today.
Exactly.
As we
No
hear
question.
about Kerre and her story with Hometown Hero, Holidays, we're both HH.
I know.
Because I had this pin on. I've got a pin on that Kerre gave me, and it's HH. And I had it on my coat this morning, and Sue said, "Is that a Hometown Heroes?" I said, "No, that's Holidays and Heroes." But we're going to talk a lot about networking and how that works, because just like with what Mary was saying, the connection with Light Up to Live and Randall Reed, it all started up there on the freeway at Montgomery and the freeway at that Whataburger several Veterans Days ago. I stopped there for breakfast to eat breakfast before the Veterans Day parade, and this fella comes in with his family, and he's got a 22 kill shirt on and a ring. And I said something to him, and we started talking. And it turned out to be Dan Lombardo, the chairman of the board for 22 Kill.
Oh, wow.
And so we went down to the parade field and talked a little bit as we were getting set up. And he and I became good friends. And I started doing a clay shoot, taking pictures for Randall Reed's organization. And that's how I got involved with Light Up to Live. But then just a few months ago, I took Don it was the 100th anniversary of Lincoln cars. And so I took Don over there, and he had to spell right during this big lavish party that they were having, and fire truck and ambulance came, and they took him to the hospital.
Wow.
And that kind of hooked up Don with the organization. So that's, it's
Yeah.
just-
Oh, dear.
it's like,
Don was joking about it because he and Rick kept going back and forth, and Don said, "Well, we're here today because I passed out."
yeah. And what was
know?
funny was the general manager at Lincoln dealership. It's like the next day they sent him a little care package because he dehydrated. And so in the care package, they had some bottles of water. He said, "Drink this water." So,
That's not the kind of networking I aspire to do.
but
Yes,
it
yeah.
works like that.
yeah,
But
it does.
Carrie's got an incredible story, and she's helped a lot of people and
Mhm.
continues to help a lot of people. And just kind of tell us a little bit about how it all started, Kerre.
Well, it got started several years ago. It wasn't necessarily the Christmas party that we're doing now, but I was listening to a radio show on KCBI actually, and I forgot what year it was. It was probably like 2010, sometime around then. And there was this chaplain on there that was trying to collect stockings from, they wanted stockings for soldiers to be sent over to Kandahar, Afghanistan. And they were trying to collect, I think he said like 3,500, 4,000 stockings. They wanted to be able to give them to all of the service members that were U.S., but also to coalition troops. And they wanted certain things to go in the stockings. They kind of gave a suggested list. So I just kind of thought about that. And I wondered, I don't know, I wonder if I should give that a try. And through some encouragement of my mom and a couple of other people, they said, just do it. I said, well, I guess that's the only way it's going to get done. So I went to all the different stores that had Christmas stockings out at the time. And I probably bought 100 red stockings and started putting them on people's doorknobs with a list inside the stocking with suggested items. And I told them what we were going to do with it, where we were going to send them. And we collected, as I recall, it was around 250 stockings. And it got to where people were not just filling up stockings, they were bringing me grocery bags full of stuff. So I'd have to go buy more stockings to be able to put more stuff in with all the donations that we received. But we just had a lot of participation in that. And it really started
like
in our
your
neighborhood. Yeah, in our neighborhood. And so fast forward a few years, just with a recollection of just how generous and patriotic the people of my neighborhood were, as well as some other outside friends and family. We built a new house, and we were wanting to do like a Christmas open house. But I didn't want it just to be just a party to say, come look at our new house. I wanted it to be more of a party with a purpose. And we started thinking about what that could look like, and thinking about the whole deal that we did with the stockings. And living so close to the base, every time I go outside the gates of our neighborhood, I see people in uniform. They're putting gas in their car, or, they're at Panera Bread, or, Walmart, or whatever grocery store happens to be right there. And it just inspired the idea that maybe we should do something locally, helping local military families. So there's a friend of mine, Melanie Whitley, and her husband, Clark. Melanie actually worked for the city of Westworth Village. And I knew Clark was a veteran, and she was involved with the VFW and the Ladies Fleet Reserve Association. And she had connections to the base. And so I brought that idea and talked to her about it. She set up a meeting for me and my husband, Bob, and a friend of mine, Cheryl Hodge, who is one of my neighbors. And we went over and we met with the command master chief. At the time, his name was Devin Cautious. And the base commander at the time was Captain Michael Steffen, who is now a 2-star admiral. Met with them. They had to get it approved through JAG. Everything has to go through JAG. But we got their blessing. And but whenever we first met with them, they were just looking at us like, who in the world are you? And how do we know that we can trust that you're going to do what you say you want to do? Because my idea was that we could sponsor some of the families at the base that might struggle with providing Christmas for their family. And I said, well, just based on my previous experience, I really feel like we'll be able to help quite a few families. And he said, well, how many do you think, 10 or 15? And I said, I bet we can do better than that. And sure enough, we did. Our first year, we took care of 39 families. But it was all brand new. I mean, I was just kind of formulating what this was going to look like in my mind. And we came up with a wish list that we gave to the commanding officers over at the base so that they could identify the families that they felt like could use help. And then decided, well, how are we going to get all these gifts together? So we did it through our Christmas party. That is kind of a logistical party for us now, where we have people bring the gifts and they have to be labeled properly. We assign every family a number so that all that corresponding number will be on every gift that is for their specific family. But then I was thinking, well, I don't know what I'm going to do with all these gifts. I guess I can just go rent a moving truck and just stick them in there until it's time to take them to the party for the families. And a friend of mine heard about what we were doing. He is a fireman for Lockheed Martin. His name is Justin Estes. And he and his buddies, I'm going to just name them by names because they are truly our elves that really do help us make this happen. Buddy Campbell, Scott Bowman, Greg Toulouse, Bud Whitmer, they're all firemen at Lockheed Martin. And they volunteered to rent a truck and bring it to our house. And they stand outside our front door while people are just dropping off gifts. And then we invite those sponsors and donors to come into our home for a party. And we invite the commanding officers from the base that have service members that are being represented to come over and get to have a meet and greet with the sponsors and donors. And it's been a really great conduit to connect the community to the people at the base. And, you know, to help them feel involved. And it shows the not just the commanding officers over there, but the service members that this community really does care about them. And so the first year that we did the party, we were trying to figure out where we were going to have the party for the families so that they could receive their gifts that had been purchased for them. And the only place that we could come up with that first year was at, you know where Heim's Barbecue is now on White Settlement? It used to be a little VFW post. And they had a tiny little banquet room in the back. I don't know if you've ever been in there. But we did our party for 39 families in that tiny little banquet room. But we did it by dividing it up into 2 shifts. So we set up all the gifts for all the families. In that first 2-hour shift, they came in. They were really they really didn't know what they were coming there for, what to expect. So it was all just really kind of brand new, but it was a lot of fun. So we had those 19 families, and then we had a little break where we had to clear out the room and start all over again. And we brought in all the gifts for the next 19 families, and they showed up. And that was our first year, and that was in 2015. And it has just grown organically from there. But after that first year, we knew that we were onto something, that there was a need, and everyone was already going to say, okay, we're going to do this again, right? So how could I say no? And it's just grown from there. So,
and there's a great need, because I mean, we've seen on the news recently where, you know, our troops, a lot of them are having to go on food stamps.
Yes.
I mean, everybody used to, you think, well, you know, you've got room and board and 3 square meals a day, and your clothes are paid for and everything, and you're taken care of. But when you raise a family and you're an enlisted person, you aren't making that much money. We had some recruiters come and talk to the Fort Worth Air Power Council board last week, and they said, you know, we're having a hard time recruiting because we're competing against Walmart and Amazon. They pay more than the service people. So there's a great need. And Mary, being the first sergeant, she knows firsthand how the need is out there.
Yeah, and we've talked before on this show about the fact that a lot of the people out here at the Joint Reserve Base are reserve and guard. And those folks are only paid that military wage, because a lot of folks go, well, the military gets paid pretty decent. Well, in comparison to what the 3 of us got paid back in the day, yeah, they get paid pretty well. But that's if you're active duty. And that's during those days that you're on for a reservist or guardsman when you're on orders. That's the rest of the time. That's not true. And what we've learned is we have homeless airmen and homeless other branches. I'm using airmen, of course, because I'm Air Force, right?
Mhm.
But we have those folks that are homeless. We have those folks that are young airmen who are raising their siblings or they're taking care of their elderly parents, and they're only getting paid the military wages when
Yeah.
they're on orders. They're not getting that all through the week. They may be working at McDonald's or something during the week, or they're going to school and they're trying to raise a family, any number of things. And I've actually had some of my folks that have been recipients of what Kerre's organization does. And I'll never forget when I was a first sergeant at Security Forces, and that list came down, and I had this young senior airman, E4, come into my office, and she said, I'm not married and I don't have children, but I care for my sister and her children. And is there any way that I can be included in this particular event? And I said, you know what? I don't know. We can ask. It doesn't cost us nothing to ask, right? Let's ask the question. The worst that they can tell us is a no. And so I did, and I turned in her list. And then I was contacted to say, but she didn't put anything down for herself. She doesn't want anything. And I'm like, nope, Kerre, she doesn't want anything. She said, if they'll just take care of my sister and her children, she would not throughout that entire thing give us anything. And I think I came up with one thing from just having a conversation with her that she wanted. But that was my first time as a first sergeant. And it wasn't the last, but it was the first time. And that woman, the next time I saw her after she received the gifts, she came in my office. She was crying. She had tears. She said, I have never felt that much love and that much care from people who didn't even know me or know my family. And yet they did all of this for me. And so since from that moment on, I've been a huge Holidays and Heroes Kerre supporter, because not only was she our honorary commander at Security Forces then after that, so I got to interact with her, but just knowing that when she in this organization do this, they aren't doing it because they want somebody to go, oh, look at you guys, you're doing such great things. They're doing it for the right reasons.
From their heart.
And that's when it matters, is because they're impacting the lives of people. And to Rick's point, today, the financial situation, I mean, heck, go to the grocery store. I went to the commissary a couple of days ago, and my grocery bill just keeps, I mean, it's like double what it was, 19 months ago.
Sure.
And if it's that challenging for those of us that make a little bit more money, some of these young families on base, they can't afford Christmas this year. So this is such an incredible organization, and they do so much for our military families right here at home. And the people on that Joint Reserve base benefiting aren't just from Fort Worth. They're there's people that come in here from Oklahoma, from Louisiana. They're from south parts of Texas. They're from all over the place that come here to do their military duty. So she's impacting people and her organization all over the place. So it's just, I have always thought what she does is just so amazing. I wish I had more time, because I would really love to be heavily involved in Holidays and Heroes.
And Kerre is an amazing person, because in 2020, we kind of got sidetracked a little bit in the way we normally pass out gifts because of COVID. So we had a drive-through, and I was watching Kerre, and every family, she'd go engage with them. And I mean, she knew everything about them. And I was so impressed, because, it was family number 23, but they had a name and they had needs and they had kids. And Kerre knew all that, because she just, she takes care of this so well.
Thank you. That was a different kind of year for sure.
But one thing you've learned is you've learned how to be very flexible and shift gears in a hurry, because
out of necessity.
In 2021, because of COVID too, that we couldn't have it at the base, and we had it at the Vintage Flying Museum, which was a great venue.
Oh, they were so gracious to. Well, let me just tell you, Captain Mark McLean, the skipper of the base, called me about a month before our event and said, I can't believe I'm having to call you to tell you this, but We just got orders from the Department of Defense that we cannot have any gatherings of more than 50 people anywhere on base. Well, that pretty much took care of our party because we were going to be having it at one of the big Navy hangars, the VR-59 hangar, which is where we had it in 2019. And it was an amazing place to be able to have that party. But here I am about a month out and we have no venue. And I just started picking up the phone and calling every person that I knew, seriously. And we had some really unexpected people that were volunteering their hangars. The Fort Worth Police Department was volunteering their hangar that houses their helicopters. And as great as that was, I went over to see where the hangar was, and there was just no way. There was nowhere. There was not enough room to put people. There was nowhere to park. That just wasn't going to work. But then we started calling this lady named Chucky Hospers that owns the Vintage Flying Museum. And I had 2 or 3 people that were kind of putting a little pressure on her, including me. I had a couple of conversations with her, and she was just like, well, I just don't know, because we're open for business on the weekends. And I said, well, how much would you, if we were just to ask you just to shut your place down for the weekend and let us have the place, if we could find somebody that would help us take care of that, would you do that for us? And after a long conversation and just telling her all the great things about what we do as an organization and how this would really bring her place into the spotlight, for this one event. People would hear about her place that never knew about it. I came up with every sales pitch I could think of. Anyway, she finally agreed. And then after we had that event, I think she'd love to have us back every year. They loved having us there. And they were such gracious hosts. I think people really liked that place because it was just different. It was different from the base. They got to go and see all these vintage planes and all this stuff. But it was fun that year because I think the Navy felt really guilty about not letting us have it in their hangar at the base. So they compensated by flying in an F-18 to Meacham Field for us to have on static display. Right.
And the police, they flew their helicopter
and the
there?
Police department provided us a SWAT vehicle and a helicopter. And then we had some other great things that happened last year that were these things just kept coming to me. I wasn't looking for them. They just kind of kept coming to me. Whenever I was talking to Chucky, she said, wouldn't it be kind of cool if we had Santa taxi in on one of these vintage planes? And I thought, well, that really would be neat. And then she called me back and said, I think we can do better than that. How about if we have Santa Claus parachute in?
Oh my God.
And I was like, wow, I love that idea. Let me talk to Santa Claus and see if he would like to do that. Well, our Santa Claus, Clark Whitley, he is a retired Marine himself and a CB, and he's done plenty of parachuting in his day, but Santa had a few too many cookies and glasses of milk and didn't quite meet the weight limits for parachuting. So we had a substitute Santa that parachuted in for us. That was really funny too, because it was this girl with this long black ponytail, and she was quite a bit lighter than in weight. She was up there. We were all watching her come down from the sky, and there were all these little kids in the background, just looking up. And my granddaughter was there with my daughter. My granddaughter was 5 years old and looked up at her mom and said, Mommy, how come Santa's so skinny? And Brittany just said, oh, he just looks that way because he's so far away in the sky. He'll start looking bigger. And of course, Santa Claus lands and runs behind this big black Suburban, and out comes the real Santa Claus. And
and it worked good.
It did. The kids loved it. They loved it, and Santa loved it.
How is your organization as far as giving gifts? how's it grown over the years? You started out with just a few, and then
Yes.
you got up to 39.
Every year it just keeps growing, and I've got the numbers memorized in my head. It was 2015, we had 40 or 39 families, and then 2016 it was 43, and 2017 it was 53, and 2018 it was 60, and 2019 it was 75. And at 75, that's the year that we had it at the VR-59 hangar at the base. At 75, I knew I had to kind of start doing things differently, because I had some volunteers that were helping me, but I was like, how can I keep this going if it's going to keep getting bigger? And so I had a meeting with the Fort Worth Air Power Council in January in 2019, early 2020, and presented to them what we do as an organization, Holidays and Heroes. But I just made the whole presentation to them, and they were very inspired by that. And they said, that's exactly what we're supposed to be doing as a council. We're supposed to be taking care of military families stationed here at the base. And so they just took a vote that night that they wanted to officially take me and our organization under their umbrella, that they would support us with whatever kind of support we needed. But at the time, I was not even an official 501c3. I'd been running everything through either a VFW post or the Ladies Auxiliary Fleet Reserve. They were all very gracious to help me run this so that people could get a charitable donation receipt. But we needed to become a 501c3. And so through their encouragement, we got that done that year. So March of 2020 is the year we officially became an organization, and an IRS recognized 501c3 nonprofit. And it's just really grown from there. So, but as you know, 2020, a lot of things happened in 2020. But I'll tell you, the need did not go away.
Yeah.
The need for the families was still there. And so even though we had to do things a little bit differently, we still collected wish lists from the base. In fact, we grew from 75 families in 2019 to 108 families in 2020.
And whenever we're talking about gifts, we aren't talking about just a few little boxes. We're talking
Right.
about a whole carload or a
Right.
truckload of gifts, because we give gifts to the children and to the parents, and the whole family is included.
Right.
So it's a lot of gifts, and you do well too at vetting the people that are going to give the gifts to make sure that they're going to come through, because we don't want to have somebody turn in a wish list and all of a sudden there's nothing available for them. So
That's right.
You kind of stay on top of that too.
Right. We provide the family with a wish list, and they can put down clothing sizes, toy wishes, needs for the mom and dad, and especially if it's like a household need or anything like that. And many times the parents don't ask for anything for themselves. They're just wanting to take care of the kids. But when we get these wish lists back, I just go out to my list of people. Once you get on my volunteer list or sponsor list, I never take you off. You're there permanently until you tell me to take you off. But
there's a picture right here, and this
Yeah.
is at the gathering of the gifts, and you can see that big stack of gifts.
Mhm.
That's just for one family.
Yeah.
And it's amazing to see how well organized it is, because these gifts come in, they get loaded on some big rental trucks, and these firemen do an incredible job in making sure those gifts stay together and they've got the right numbers
They do.
and they go to the right tables. So
And the sponsors are always really generous. They take those wish lists to heart. Most of the sponsors do not have the financial struggles, and they want to be able to give back. And they're very generous with these military families. I've always been amazed at just how they just go beyond any expectations that I would have had. They'll take that wish list, and in many cases, they'll buy whatever is on that wish list, no questions asked, and then sometimes give even more. So these families are very well taken care of, and we do take it very seriously when somebody says that they want to sponsor a family. If I don't know who they are, or I've never heard of them or met them, I make a phone call and I talk to them and I make sure that they
Check the Dun
understand.
Bradstreet and make sure everything's okay.
That's right. I said, I make sure they understand that these gifts have to be turned in by a certain date. And then every year, and I'm starting to get wish lists in right now for this year. But once I start sponsoring them out, then the sponsors of these families start hearing from me pretty much weekly, reminding them, okay, don't forget to make sure every gift is labeled a certain way and that they get a family number, make sure that a number is assigned to every single gift, and make sure that these get turned in by December 3rd. This year it's December 3rd. If they can't get it to me on that day, they can bring them earlier, but not later. Later's too late.
Yeah, you might have already told us, but 2021, how many families did we serve?
134
Okay.
families.
134 families.
Wow.
Yeah.
And that hangar was full, and we'll show a picture in a
Yeah.
minute. They put me on one of those big lifts that took me to the top of the hangar and then drove me around inside so we could get some different views of the hangar. But you see that picture right there with those tables and all those gifts stacked up.
Holy smokes.
It's a big deal, Larry.
Yeah.
It's
It
a
is.
big deal.
You have to come out there. It's amazing.
And you know, I got a call in 2019, and that was before COVID. And you know, I was doing a lot of stuff for a lot of different organizations. I get this call from this lady named Kerre, and somebody had given, I think maybe Ann Pottinger or somebody had given my name to you, and you asked me if I could come and take pictures. And I went and took pictures that year.
Yeah.
And I thought, as I was standing there in that hangar, seeing all these happy children and all this festivity, I thought then that this is an event I don't ever want to miss.
Yeah.
So, you know, it's number one on the events I do, just to be able to see the joy of Christmas that you bring and your volunteers and your sponsors bring to all these families.
It's addicting.
It is. It is. It's just
You
so
see
addicting.
those smiles and those happy tears, and I mean, it truly is addicting.
Because there's so, you know, it's just more than them just coming and picking up some gifts. They can have their picture made with Santa Claus.
Yeah.
They have bounce houses. We have the Star Wars characters.
Oh yeah, the Star Wars. They came along in 2019.
Yeah.
That was the first year that.
And the whole, I mean, it was like every Star Wars character was there. They brought them in on a bus.
Yeah.
It's a big
They
event.
Yeah.
It's a
Yeah.
big,
deal.
fun event for them.
We had about 20 Star Wars characters, including Chewbacca. I don't know how that he stayed on those stilts for that long, but he came out. I mean, it was fun. It was.
And
Everyone has a lot of
Here's
fun.
a picture of some of them
Yeah.
lined up there. But yeah, it's just an incredible deal. And even TCU ROTC, our friend
Bruce Stacy.
Bruce Stacy, yeah, he was here not long ago. The Vietnam veteran, that's 2 Silver Stars. He brings the ROTC out there to help direct traffic. And
Yeah, they helped direct traffic, and they did a color guard thing. Last year was the year that we lost his 13 soldiers in Afghanistan. So we felt like last year was an appropriate time to honor those 13. And we don't usually have such a solemn moment. It's such a happy, occasion. But we decided last year it really was worthy to just stop for a moment and just remember those 13 fallen soldiers. And we did that by setting up a table that had 13 gift boxes, one for each service member that was lost, and we had their name on it, and we had somebody stand up and read off all of their names, and and it was a profound moment, I think.
it was.
But then we did have the color guard, and they were fun. They were a little inexperienced, but they really did their very best.
good.
They did a great job. And we have a DJ that comes and just plays all kinds of fun music, and it's just a party atmosphere.
This year, to 2021 Caliber Collision,
Yes,
they gave away 2 cars to
they did.
some service people at the base.
They've been a great sponsor for
They
us.
are.
And for, I guess, going back to 2018, every year they sponsor at least 15 families themselves.
Wow.
They take 15 wish lists from me, and then they don't necessarily come to the gathering of gifts party, but 2 or 3 days before that, they have a caravan, like 4 or 5 vehicles that are filled with gifts, and they come and drop them off in our garage. And so, but they take care of
Amazing.
families. And then last
And
year,
Bob doesn't mind that, having a garage full of.
no, well, it's our neighbors that are so great to us, because I'm calling them saying, can we borrow an extra, space in your driveway so we can park our car over there for a few days?
Bob's a great supporter.
He is. Oh yeah, he loves it.
And tell us about Bob.
Well, my husband used to work for the Dallas Mavericks. Many people know him. He was one of their color analysts. He did that for 23 years. And then he did pregame and postgame shows for 5 years. Prior to working for the Mavericks, he was a head coach at Drake University for 10 years. And in fact, just a little over a week ago, 5 of his players from Drake University that played for him back in the 70s got in touch with him and said, hey, coach, we want to come see you. And they came from all over the country. We had 2 from Iowa, 1 from Washington State, 1 from Florida, and I'm forgetting, 1 from, Wisconsin. And they came and spent a couple of days with him, and just really, that was great.
Wow.
That was
He hadn't seen
such
a
an
lot of them
honor.
since
No, he
he
hadn't seen them in
graduated.
45 years. He's talked to a couple of them, but no, this was just a real surprise, and they're the ones that organized it. And so he had a great visit with them. But
he's a great supporter.
Mhm.
And that's in this picture. He's in the red sweatshirt.
Yeah.
And I don't get around a lot of basketball people, but he's the only person I've ever seen that has NBA world champion ring. So
He does. And
it's a big sucker.
And people notice that ring. I can't tell you how many times we go out and they're like, what is that on your finger? And he has to stop and tell them about it. Or we just go places and people just recognize him. And even he doesn't feel like he's relevant anymore, because he's kind of been out of it for a few years. But no, he still is, because people still see him and they want to stop and say hello. And they all call him Coach.
He's a great person and a great friend, and y'all just make a great couple to do this. Some things other than presents you give, sometimes you give gift cards too, don't you?
Well, we do.
Because you have a kind of people. Some people say, I can't do the gifts, but I want to give some money.
I have one neighbor that for a couple of years, he says, how many families you got? And I'll tell him, and he says, okay, I want you to go buy $100 gift card for every family. Make sure that they can buy themselves Christmas dinner. I guess it was in 2020, we had enough money in donations that was left over after our event that we went back to the 108 families that we had that year, and we were able to give them an additional $300 gift card that we did at a Valentine gift giving event. And we were going to try to do that again this year. We had money left over again this year, but the base offered us some suggestions of maybe how to do things a little different to be able to include more people. And so we started looking at some different things, and Bruce Stacy actually invited me and Ann Pottinger, who's one of my board of directors. Her husband, General Pottinger, was on your show a few weeks ago. He invited us to a Rotary Club meeting he's in South Lake, right? Yeah. I think so. And he had invited Julie Butner, the president of Tarrant County or Tarrant Area Food Bank, to speak to the Rotary Club that day, but he wanted us to meet with her separately after that meeting. And so we had a little separate lunch meeting with her and started talking about the possibility of working with Tarrant Area Food Bank. And after a couple of meetings with Julie and with Captain McLean from the base and Lydia Miller and Blaine Jackson from the Fleet and Family Services over at the base, we came up with the idea that this year we were going to make a donation to the Tarrant Area Food Bank of $40,000, which would provide Thanksgiving meals to the families at the base. And we thought this would be great. So we were getting ready to make this big donation, and we had everything set up to meet with Julie, and we were going to make get one of these big checks printed for our $40,000. And anyway, I was at the grocery store one day at a Central Market, and I just happened to look up and I saw Congresswoman Kay Granger at the grocery store. And I had met her a couple of times before, but I looked and I said, Kay Granger? She's like, yes. I said, this is I'm Kerre Randel Ortegel with Holidays and Heroes. And she said, oh, yes, it's nice to see you again. And we just sat there and chit-chatted. And then I started telling her about what we were going to do with the Tarrant Area Food Bank. And she got so excited. She said, let me tell you what I want to do. I want to make a donation for that. I'm going to sit here. I'm going to give you a check for $5,000 to put with that check for those Thanksgiving meals. So here I am at Central Market and with Kay Granger, and she's standing there writing me a $5,000 check. And I certainly didn't go there to find her there, but that was just a very fortuitous meeting. So anyway, now we have $45,000, and we were able to make that presentation. And for that $45,000, they're going to be able to give back 45,000 pounds of food. It will be 100 pounds of food that will go to about 450 families. It will include a turkey, all the side dishes to make a full Thanksgiving meal, along with some other food items that they'll be able to serve a family of 4 for at least a week. So that's a trip to the grocery store they don't have to make that week.
That
and for
is.
some of these families,
That's a lot of
that's
food.
huge.
Mm-hmm.
And it is
Yeah.
a lot of food.
How many volunteers you have to do the work at the Tarrant Area Food Bank to prepare that food? There's a
Well,
day coming up.
Yeah, on November 14th, they set up 2 shifts, one from 9 to 12, and I think the next one was from 1 to 4. And I'm not sure how many spots are left, but there were 40 spots for each shift, so that was 80 people. Somebody told me they got on there the other day to sign up, and that it was showing that it was full.
Yeah, some of our members. So I put that out to the roll call family, and very quickly, several of them, I said, you better hurry because they'll fill up fast. And the last time I went out to look, at least one of the shifts was full. And I think then I heard from somebody else that both shifts were full.
Okay. So that's good.
And then
that's
you were worried
great.
about that
Yeah,
a couple weeks ago.
Yeah.
there was no problem getting volunteers. I said, this is a time for the roll call family to step up and let's support our friends with Holidays and Heroes. So hopefully a bunch of those are roll call people.
And then they'll
Well-
have the next day or two, they'll give
Right.
the food out at the base.
Right. On November 16th, and I think we're going to start at about 9 o'clock. But yeah, and I don't know how many people have signed up for that, but it's going to be the same thing. I think about 30 or 40 people. And then Captain McLean told me that when they did this last year with the food bank, they were able to take care of 300 families, I think. But people from the base just show up and start volunteering to help.
Yeah.
So, but yeah, now Nate Starmer, the guy that I've been dealing with at the food bank, told somebody, was it you? Blaine Jackson told Blaine Jackson that he thought it was going to help more like 500 families.
That's
That much food.
incredible.
Yeah.
I had
So-
one of those guys on, and he talked about it.
Oh, really?
Kay Granger was my world history teacher
Oh, was she
at
really?
Richland High School.
Yeah. Well, she's an awesome supporter. I couldn't be
She
more.
does support our military.
Yeah, she
used
does.
she used to tell us, this is just a stopping over point, boys.
Mhm.
We all had her the football players had her for split lunch. You know, where you went, and then you went to it. So I asked her at one of our reunions, I said, I never went back. None of us did. She said, I didn't either. And I said, how did you pass us? She said, that was before no pass, no play.
Oh,
She said the coaches would make sure and come talk to me. And I graduated with Gary Morris, the country singer, and Kay was our world history teacher.
I'll be darned.
I had no idea.
Yeah. She was a
That's
teacher, then
great.
she was the mayor of Fort
Mhm.
Worth, and then
Then the
congressperson.
congressperson. How could somebody get in touch with Holidays and Heroes if they want to sponsor a family?
The best way to do it is to go through our website,
Okay.
holidaysandheroes.org. That's HEROES.org. And go to the Get Involved section. And then you can just fill out your information with your name and address, email, phone number, and expect a call from me. And I will vet you out and make sure that you understand kind of exactly who we are, what we do, and how important it is what they're signing up to do, that they, know that
Mhm.
we expect them to follow
Big
through.
responsibility.
Yeah.
It
Because
is.
with the number of families that it's
It
been
is.
growing at the, you're probably going to be over 200 this year.
Oh, please don't say that. I'm sure that people will step up and make that happen. If we've got that many, I'm sure those sponsors will be out there, but
And
that's a
it'll-
lot to manage.
Yeah.
And my biggest nightmare is that we show up to the event and a family comes and there's not gifts there for them. And quite frankly, last year that did happen. We don't know what happened, but we had a sponsor that lived in Arkansas and she shipped all of her gifts for her family. And those gifts never arrived. And so here it was, the day of the party. Thankfully, we get there early and we set all the gifts out. And when we had an empty table, and I go back to find out who that family is, and I have a copy of the wish list with me, I had people there ready on the spot to go shopping, and they went shopping and
Wow.
bought gifts for that family, and we had them there by the time they showed up.
Did the gifts
So-
ever come in the mail or whatever?
They eventually showed up, but not to Fort Worth. They ended up back in Arkansas somewhere. I don't know what happened, but that was an unfortunate thing.
But those
Anyway.
nightmares can happen like
Yeah,
that.
they do.
Mhm.
Hey, my
Larry-
bike drive last year, I forgot, Wes Williams had bought 60 or 70 bikes, and another sponsor bought 50 or 60 bikes. We're 150 bikes short. And I'm on the phone, and Tino Serta, one of our members, ran the post office in Arlington. He found them. They were over on Hewlin on the loading dock, but nobody had called. So I drove
Wow.
over there and got them. That was like, we had to put them together. So we worked all that night, put together 140 something bikes.
Mhm.
Wow.
Because Larry has a bicycle drive every year, and you've done
Yeah.
it for over
36
30,
years.
36 years.
This year,
And this year you're trying to hit 750 bikes.
750 this year.
Well, God bless you. I know what that's like.
You know-
Oh, yeah, it's a nightmare.
You know all the
It's a
anguish.
nightmare.
And
All the
helmets,
sleepless-
750 helmets
All
to
the
go
right.
with.
sleepless nights.
That's right.
We had
So
95 helmets left
Mhm.
over from last year. So, and Jody Dean has been our disc jockey, he was a disc jockey, our Santa Claus. He'll be it again this
I
year.
remember him.
So,
Mhm.
yeah, it's amazing how many different groups in Fort Worth and Tarrant County
Mhm.
they give, and we still have people that don't have anything.
Yeah.
I mean, it's the saddest thing.
The need's great.
The need's
It
more
is.
than great.
We also have people that donate money that want to make sure that money is specifically going to a family. They want that money to shop. They want somebody else to do their shopping for them,
Sure.
basically. They just don't have the ability to get out and do it themselves, but they want that connection to a specific military family. So we have a couple of those types of family sponsors that'll just give us a check. But we've got volunteers that will actually go out and do the shopping and wrapping for them too.
Sure.
So
that sounds like a job for me.
Yeah.
yeah, well, I may need you.
You
I'm
just
telling you,
volunteered, Mary.
Yeah.
You just
I'm there.
volunteered.
I'm
Okay.
there.
So-
Carrie knows anything she
Yeah.
needs.
So the gift giving
Mhm.
day is December
The
the
4th.
4th,
Mhm.
and the gathering of the gifts is the evening before on December 3rd.
Right.
So it's just a fun 2 days.
It is. It's like a wedding
Yeah,
weekend.
it is.
Every
It
year
is.
I'm putting together a wedding every year.
And last year at the gathering of the gifts, you had the what's his name from the Medal of Honor Museum.
Oh yeah, Chris Cassidy.
Chris Cassidy was there,
he
the
and-
astronaut.
He and his wife Peggy.
Because Tyler
Uh-huh.
went there to take pictures at night, and then we saw Chris Gadsby someplace. He said, I think that's that guy that was the astronaut.
Yeah. I actually had lunch with his wife Peggy yesterday, and Kristen Vandergriff, who also, they're both connected to the Medal of Honor Museum, and they want to be more involved with Holidays and Heroes. And so they were asking me ways that they could get involved, and they said, just pick up the phone, no matter how small the task is or how big it is, just let us know how we can help. But
So many people want to help.
yeah, Peggy was saying that Chris may come to the party this year. Are you listening, Chris? Wearing his NASA spacesuit.
That'd be cool.
Well,
the kids would love that.
yeah, that's what they were thinking. His pilot suit or
Yeah,
jumpsuit or whatever. That would be really neat. Yeah, and I'm sure all of our Star Wars characters would love that too.
Absolutely. That would fit
real
in.
space-
Yeah,
a
that
real
would fit
space
in.
suit.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Wow.
Anyway,
So exciting times, and there's not many weeks before it happens.
no, it's really
Just-
starting to hit me. I was thinking about
Just a
that
little over
last
a month
night.
away.
Because I've been really pretty calm up to this point. I'm like, I know I'm not doing something that I'm supposed to be doing. But it's like this every year. It's like the calm before the storm. And then the day the storm hits, I mean, it is just like full speed ahead. Yesterday was kind of one of those days because all of a sudden I got in a package of wish list, and now I've got people starting to send in base security forms. And then I start thinking, have I called this person and this person and this person to make sure that I've got certain things lined up? And my mind just starts flooding with details. So all these people that said that they're willing to help and just give me a call, you're going to start hearing from me
And you've
very
got a
soon.
lot of help. You got a good board that
I
you
do.
surround yourself with. And,
I do.
I know that Ann Pottinger and
Mhm.
Susan Irvin
Mhm.
and a lot of the other people, but
Mia Curb.
yeah, they're right
Mhm.
there with you the whole time. I mean,
Yeah, they are.
and they're all good people that get in there and roll their sleeves up and work hard.
A lot of people, and even if you look at our advisory board, we've got, retired colonels and retired generals and
And
first
an old-
sergeants
And an old ponytail photographer.
and you. And I mean, we've just got some just an amazing group of people that support us. And, I'm just surrounded by so many good people that there's no way I can fail because nobody's going to let me. I've got so many people that are just standing right there that, want to see this succeed.
And it gets bigger and better
and
every year.
It does.
And
Every year there are new surprises.
and we have scrolling along the bottom, we've got
Mhm.
your website where people
Oh,
can
great.
go
hmm
and find out more about your organization and how to help you. But we're excited about it. I know that it's going to be another one of those times that I walk away and think, this is a good deal that I went to, just to see just the magic of Christmas.
It really is. There's a lot of magic there.
There is.
And I forgot, we have one more new little thing
You
this
do.
year. We have partnered with South Mountain Vets. They're an organization that takes care of homeless veterans. And one way that they fund their nonprofit is they started a company called Breach or Bypass. And I talked to the guy that runs Breach or Bypass. His name is Michael Leisure. And he has a company that does coffee and t-shirts. And he agreed to let us put our artwork on coffee. We have our own Holidays and Heroes blend of coffee this year. And you can get that through his website, breachorbypass.org. And if you don't mind sharing that
Okay.
link,
Yeah,
at the end of the
share
show.
that.
you can go in and buy,
Here's a copy of the.
it's cinnamon hazelnut. It's delicious. I've gotten to try a sample of it, and Holidays and Heroes will make $4.50 a bag for every bag sold.
That's
So
good.
yeah, it's a kind of a novelty thing. Thought it would be something kind of fun
Your
because,
own blend.
there's plenty of Christmas blends out there, and we're a Christmas organization and we all love our coffee. And
Very cool.
so I just thought it'd be something kind of fun to offer people that would like to find a different way to maybe help support our organization. So
Yeah.
go buy your coffee. Buy several bags. You can give it to teachers and neighbors.
And be sure and visit their website
Yes,
and find out how you can get involved in it.
that's right.
And it's been a pleasure having you on the
Oh,
show
thank you.
today. This is the time that everybody's gearing up. Larry, tell us about your bike drive.
This is the 36th year, and we're hoping that Maddie and the city council will let us have it in the parking lot behind Farrington Field. If not, we'll do it in the parking lot behind the University Park Shopping Center. But and if you want to help out, there's lots of ways to help out. We've got lots of new restaurants. John Bonnell's restaurants are in. Fred's Texas. Tim loves all of his restaurants. The pickleball court, Matt Johnson, Fort Worth PD, Fort Worth FD. Just we've got
The whole community is
and the
coming together.
aerospace and machinist
I
out at
am.
Lockheed.
Yeah.
This is their third year involved in it. So-
It's going to be exciting. I'll be here to,
Yep.
to
December 17th
Take
is the
pictures?
giveaway. Starts about 6 o'clock in the morning, 8:30 or 9. Everybody goes home and sleeps for a day. Same thing as you're involved in.
yeah, you need to
We
take a
have
long
to-
vacation.
I have to sit out here and we bring all the inventory from Wild Acre Brewery's warehouse. And so the bikes are just sitting everywhere. And so we all stay up from the day before. And then when it's over, last year it was so cold. I was thinking we still liked about 150 bikes and a bunch of toys. And Fire Station 8 pulled up in 2 fire trucks. These guys get off wearing shorts.
Yeah,
Where do you need us? I said, y'all take it over. We're going to warm up and drink some coffee.
there you
And
go.
they took care of it. So there's a lot of super nice people here that want to help. And,
Mhm.
you know, a lot of people say a lot of things about the city to the east, not very friendly. That's not the case
No,
in Cowtown.
we take care
No,
of people over here, don't we?
We
Yeah.
really do.
Yeah.
Mhm.
And,
Lot
and
of
it takes
good
all
people.
of us.
Yeah.
It takes all of us. Roll call, what y'all do, what all of these. And that's why I say if we all knew about everything, it'd be a whole lot easier.
And that's some of the things we're trying to do here
That's
is
exactly
kind of
right.
share this information, share these wonderful organizations, let people know how to get involved, how to help.
Exactly.
Mary, we have roll call coming up.
We do next Friday. So there's still time to get in. If you want to come to the luncheon next Friday, make sure that you either give us a call at 817-507-5879 or email us at info@roll-call.org. Let us know that you'd like to join us, and we'll get you on the list to come into the luncheon. Luncheon is free for our veterans. All we ask for our non-vets is if you wouldn't mind contributing a $10 donation to cover the cost of the food. Otherwise, nothing that we do at Roll Call costs anybody a penny. So we just want to continue to support our vets. Our speaker is going to be Dwayne Williams. We had Dwayne. He was one of the first
helicopter
folks
pilot.
on the show. Helicopter pilot in Vietnam, has some great stories. So
Great
we're going to
stories.
have him on, and we're really looking forward to seeing a house full. And Kerry's going to spend about 10 minutes with our folks and tell them. Then we hope to sponsor a few families that day and get some bikes. So we got some things on the agenda for the next couple luncheons to make sure that
Super.
we get out with our membership and let folks know, that we're here to help the other organizations just as much as they help us.
Sure.
And Larry, thank you so much for sponsoring us and
Pleasure.
your classic auto detail. Last Tuesday I had my old fishing truck out here, and I got it home and started looking at it. I thought, this looks brand new.
Yeah.
Rosie cleaned places I never have seen anybody clean.
She's only worked for me 26 years,
She's-
27 years.
She knows how to do the detailing.
Yes.
So if you need, if you really want a real detail, just call Larry or come by and get your car detailed. We appreciate you. We appreciate you for all you do for our community.
Well,
You're a great,
I appreciate all of
a
y'all.
great citizen of Fort Worth and a great American. Kerry, thank you very much for being here
Oh,
today.
it was my pleasure. It was a lot of fun.
We look forward to a lot of our audience stepping up to the
Pitching
plate
in, yeah.
to pitch in, and
I look forward to hearing from them.
Yeah, the need is
Absolutely.
great. Let's not
That's
let
right.
our
don't forget
families down.
the holidays and heroes and the bike drive. So we've got
That's
a lot
right.
of stuff
You
going
know,
on.
Fort Worth, there's over 1 million people, 2.2 in the county, if everybody just did a little bit, just a
Mhm.
little bit. I mean, I
It makes
talked
a
to a
difference.
guy, a numbers guy last night, and he said, all of these people that need help, if just 50% of the population would give $10, it'd take care of everything.
It would.
Mhm.
Just a little bit from everybody.
Just
Amen.
a little bit, just a little bit of the old song, Lean on Me,
Yep. Mary, I'll see you next Tuesday, and
Absolutely.
then at roll call next Friday.
That's
Larry,
right.
we'll see you
See you
next
there.
Tuesday.
Yes, sir.
Kerry, we'll see you somewhere along the way at roll call for sure.
Yeah, I'll be there next week.
We've had a pleasure introducing you to Kerry, and we look forward to our show next week. Thank you for watching.
Is this the 15th or the 16th?
16th, the 16th episode.
So Wes and them were one ahead of you
Yep.
because they're 17.
Yeah, they started a week before we
Yeah.
did. So, but this is Hometown Heroes, and we will see you next week.
Adios. That was
Well, thank you.
every week.